Hey everyone, it's Brandy and welcome back to my channel, Brandy Janae's Book Show. As you can tell from the title, today's video is my June wrap up part 1, and then this is still like technically only part of my first half of the month reading. Before I get into the books that I'm going to be talking about in this video, I did participate in Smut-a-thon, which took place earlier this month from June 3rd to the 9th, and I posted a separate wrap up for that, so I won't be talking about any of those books in this specific video. So I read 7 books during that week, so if you want to go hear my thoughts about those 7 books, you can go and check out that. Now moving on to the rest of the books that I have to talk about for the first half of the month. I have 6 more that I need to talk about with you guys. It's actually been a pretty good reading month so far, just because I have been getting a lot of my audiobook holds in from the library. So I have just been going through them as quick as I can so I can get to the next one, because it seems like all of the ones that I put on hold like a month and a half ago are all coming in now. So I'm working my way through them. It's a bit of a mess right now, but I'm starting to get back on track, and then I have more coming in. So the way I've been setting these up, I'm going to start with rereads because I don't count those towards ratings for the month, and then I will talk about all the books that I read for the first time. And if you haven't seen me do these videos for the past couple months, in this first part, I don't do any of my stats or anything just because I haven't completed my reading for the month. So when I do my part 2 of my June wrap up, I will have all of the stats that I talk about. So the total number of books I read in a month, pages, and rating. And then everything else will be set up the same. Getting into my rereads, I did have 2 rereads, and that was Written and Read and Murder of Crows by Anne Bishop. I think I mentioned this in a few videos now, but after finishing off the series, I think I just finished it last month, I really wanted to be back in this world. And I read the first book in the spinoff series because I picked up the audiobook from the library, and I actually ended up really enjoying it. But I'm still on hold for the audiobook for the second book, and that one I think is going to take a while. So while I'm waiting on that, these were available, or at least the first one was available right away, or it was like soon after. So I was just like, you know, I'm going to put it on hold and get it. And I ended up binging this in like 2 days because, like I said, I just love this world. I think I put off everything else because I was just like, I don't care, I just want to reread this. So I reread this, and then when my hold of Murder of Crows came up, I binged this entire book in a day. So yeah, I love this series so much. I wasn't expecting to enjoy this as much as I did when I first started reading it, but like the second time around, I noticed a few more things, and I just was able to enjoy it and not have to worry about like nitpicking at it, because I'm trying to find ways to discuss it for, like, you know, book clubs and stuff like that. So I just absolutely love these, and I'm debating on whether or not I should reread the last 3 books in this series, because I did read them all within this year. I think book 3, the next book, I finished that one in January, and then the other 2 I believe I finished last month. So I'm just like, I probably shouldn't reread them, but I probably will, just because, like I said, I love this. I love the world. I love the characters, and I want more. Alright, so for the rest of the books, I talk about them as always in the order from my lowest rated to my highest rated. So the first 2 books I'm going to talk about, I'm just going to put them together because they're part of the same series, and that is Spell of Desire Volume 4 and Spell of Desire Volume 5 by Tomu Omi. I gave both of these 3 stars, which is why I decided to just talk about these together. I talked about these, I think, in my last 2 wrap-ups. These 2 volumes, they finish off the series, and I think I said this already, but I gave them both 3 stars. So if you haven't already heard me talking about this, this is an adult manga following this character named Kei Ruko. It follows her after she finds out that both her mother and her grandmother are witches, or her grandmother was a witch because her grandmother has passed away. And now she is a vessel for her mother's powers because her mother went into hiding, and while she did that, she sent her own powers into her daughter. And she's forced to learn how to control these powers with the help of Kaname, who is the guy who shows up and actually lets her know that her mother's powers are in her. And in the process, they start to fall in love. It is like an adult paranormal romance. I probably should have said that at the beginning. So I feel like I enjoyed volumes 4 and 5 of the series a little bit more than the other two, just because it got a little bit more into the magic side of things, and it dealt with more than just the two characters like making out all the time, which I feel like the first 2.5 volumes was pretty much just that. So I did enjoy these more. However, I felt like it wasn't enough. Like, there wasn't enough detail about all of the things that I was curious about for me to love it, or at least like it more than I did. So I enjoyed the story. It was easy to get through. It was pretty quick. It was fun. But overall, it's probably not a series that I would suggest everyone pick up, because I don't think everyone would like this one. And I don't know if I would ever read it again, just because, like I said, it was okay, but it wasn't anything amazing. So the next one that I have to talk about is Sailor Moon Volume 1 by Naoko Takeuchi. This one is following 14-year-old Usagi, and she is just like a typical student, I guess, or maybe not the typical students. She's really lazy, she's boy crazy, and she loves video games. But if it's nothing to do with video games, she just like really doesn't care about it at all. She's just like, all I want to do is sleep. I don't care about anything. But one day she ends up being late for school, and she like runs into this cat, and she finds out that this cat can talk, and the cat tells her that she is supposed to be a guardian named Sailor Moon, and she's supposed to fight evil, but also she's supposed to be finding her allies to find and protect the Moon Princess. So that's kind of summing up the general story, I think, from my understanding. So this one was a little weird going into it, just because this is one of those things that I felt like I heard everyone talking about growing up, and even now that everyone says that they watched this when they were younger and they absolutely loved it. But I was not one of those kids. I had an older brother, so I grew up watching like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And never did get around to Sailor Moon. So while I had heard of it, never watched it. So I was really excited to pick this up because, like I said, I've heard so many good things about it, and I just wanted to know the story for myself. And I will say that this was a little strange. I've read mangas like this before, but this one seemed to jump around a lot, and I can see how this would be a lot better in a show or anime, whatever. It was one of those things, like I said, it was kind of jumpy at points, and like I felt like there wasn't enough detail between the different parts. The further I get into the series, I'm guessing more details are going to be explained, but for just reading this first volume, I felt a little off at points. Like I said, I gave it a 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it, and I'm definitely looking forward to reading more of the series just to see what the entire story is about. I hope I end up loving it as much as everyone else. The second to last book that I have to talk about is Wicked Saints by Emily A. Duncan. I think I'm going to just read the description for this one instead of trying to sum it up myself, because it's not that long, and I think it gives like a pretty good idea of what's going on. A girl named Nadia who hears the whispers of the gods inside her head. A prince surrounded by desperate suitors and deadly assassins. A monster hidden behind pale, tortured eyes and a smile that cuts like a knife. The paths of these three characters become entwined during a centuries-long war filled with sinners and saints, magic and mystery, and a star-crossed romance that threatens to tip the scales between dark and light forever. Like I said, pretty good summary. Just kind of gives like a quick glimpse into what the story is about without giving too much away. As you could tell from that, this is a fantasy novel, and although this is focused on 3 main characters, it is told in a dual perspective. This is one of those books that I feel like a lot of people were saying that you either love it or hate it, and I kind of fell in the middle. I enjoyed the book, but I did have some things that I did not like about it. One of the main issues that I heard with this book was that there was way too much blood in here. Now, there was a lot of blood just because of the fact that there was blood magic being used, so people had to constantly cut themselves in order to be able to perform magic. However, I wasn't like put off by that. I didn't mind just because I'm not super sensitive about things like that. On the other hand, I think part of the reason why I didn't love it as much as I was hoping to going into it was that there was a lot of the in-between moments. I know that there is need for build up and to kind of flesh out what was going on in this world, which I really appreciated, because if I felt like I was missing out on certain things, I wouldn't have been happy, because I don't like being lost when it comes to high fantasy worlds, which is part of the reason why it took me so long to get into these types of books. But I felt like some things were kind of dragged out and there wasn't a whole lot happening until almost the very end. There were like bits and pieces here and there, but a lot of it was travel or sitting around and just waiting. And I wasn't excited about that. It just wasn't as exciting as I was hoping for it to be. So I gave this one 3.5 stars, and I'm interested to see what she does in the next book. I believe this is only going to be a duology, so looking forward to seeing how things turn out in the end. And the final book that I have to talk about in this video is Undying by Amie Kaufman and Megan Spooner. This is the sequel / finale to Unearthed, which I talked about in my last wrap up, or I guess not technically my last wrap up, but my May wrap up part 2. Talked about rereading that one, and this will be spoilers for the first book while I'm talking about this book a little bit at least. So if you guys aren't wanting to have any spoilers for that first book, maybe kind of skip over this. But when this book opens up, Jules and Mia, who are our 2 main characters, they are actually stranded on the Undying ship. So we're following them at first as they're trying to figure out how to get back onto Earth, and then after they get onto Earth, we're following them as they're trying to get people to realize what's going on, what the Undying have planned for Earth and for the people who have been living on Earth. This one is a little different from that first book, just because in the first book there were a lot of puzzles and trying to figure out what exactly was going on with the Undying, who they were, why they sent this message. This book is more about trying to get people to understand what's going on and saving the world. I felt like this one had more action going on, which I really appreciated. There was a little bit of travel going on, but I felt like compared to the first book, there was a lot more action happening in this one compared to that one. I really enjoyed this. I think that the 2 of them wrapped up this series really well, and I can't wait to see what they come up with next. They already have another series planned, and I honestly need to go back and read their first sci-fi series because I enjoy this and I want to read more. And I don't know if I said this already, but I gave this one 4 stars. So those are the books that I finished during the first half of the month, minus all of the ones that I read during Smuttathon, which, like I said at the beginning of this video, I have a separate review for if you guys want to go check out what I read and my opinions on those. If you have read any of these books that I talked about, let me know which ones and what you thought about them. And if not, let me know what some of the books are that you finished so far this month. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you would like to see more from me, make sure you subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys again in the next one. Bye.